the Our Coaching Club podcast. If you're new here, I am Haley. I am the owner of the Scouted Studio. I am an artist myself, and I'm a business coach for artists. And each week on here, or I guess a lot of weeks, I interview different artists on how they have started and are running their businesses. But today, I thought because it is the beginning of a new year, we would do a little end of year reflections and setting intentions for 2025 episode. It'll be a little shorter. You're just going to hear from me, but I thought it would just be a good practice for myself and kind of give you some ideas for how to do this exercise. So really excited to be here. I can't believe we're already in a new year, but we are. So just to kind of kick things off and get things moving, I want to first reflect on 2024, and I definitely encourage you to do the same. So first, I think it's really important to highlight both personal and professional wins from the year. And so I'll definitely share some of mine, but I also think it's really important to acknowledge your successes, big and small, and actually go out and celebrate them. So I think that's something we don't do enough as business owners, enough as women. I know a lot of you are women listening, just enough in general. I think a lot of the times we focus a lot on the negative and what we haven't accomplished yet. So my challenge for you is to really go through, as I do on this podcast, and ask everyone to write down their most successful moments. Really think about what are your most successful moments from this past year. So first, I'll start with personal. I got married. So obviously that was a huge personal success, really exciting. Just was really proud to have done that. And then I think also personally, I've become a lot more clear in my vision of who I am, what I want to be doing. There's just some level of confidence there that I think came out as I was working on these different business projects. I think everything feels a lot more aligned. And so that definitely feels like a success, but also just kind of a mindset I'm taking into the new year. From a professional standpoint, I think a couple of things. I had the first Founder Society getaway with Meg in January, and it felt really powerful to host two of those in our first year of business, and they were so amazing. And I think the community that came from that has just really been incredible, and something that was, amazing at these events, but also has continued to cultivate. And we have big plans with some of these people for 2025. We have big plans for founders. We launched a podcast. We're planning, more gatherings and getaways for the future. And I just think that was a side project that turned into something that has really been incredible. Something else that I think was a professional win or just really successful moment was launching the club. So I shifted from my Patreon model to something completely new, which was a community-based membership business coaching platform for artists. I'm sure a lot of you are members that are listening to this podcast, but for those of you that aren't, spots are open right now. And I just think it was really incredible to take the risk and close something that was, profitable and doing well, but that wasn't serving me. And I was really confident that the new model of this community-based membership that would turn into the club, I knew it was going to be more beneficial in my gut for everyone. I knew I was going to like it more. I knew it was more of my calling, but I also knew the artists would like it more. So I think taking the risk to do it and actually launching it was the first success. But I think the second success was what it has become. I think the artists in that group are actually amazing, and I think I learned something from all of them every single day. And I know that is not the point. They should be learning from me, but I really think everyone has stepped up to the plate to contribute, to ask really thoughtful questions, to support each other, to lift each other up. And so that is something that I just really could not be more proud of for developing. I think those are some of my most, just some of my most positive wins that I think are really sticking with me. And I'm really, really happy to share them. Kind of switching gears a little bit, challenges, I think there were a lot, but I think the one that really stands out for me was saying yes to too many things and ultimately burning out. So I think it was April, right before I launched the club. I was just done. I was so overwhelmed. I was so stressed. I was so just over everything and like ultimately pretty unhappy. And I think I had to really take a look at my business and figure out what was worth pursuing and what wasn't. And I think a lot of that shift happened when I switched to the club, but I think I also became really, really focused on my version of success and what was aligned with that and what wasn't, because there was a lot of things that weren't aligned. And I think that is why I'm such a big proponent of really focusing on what does success look like for you, because I think up to that point, I'd been such in the mindset of growth and doing anything I could to grow my business that I was really burning myself out and burning the candle at both ends and not focusing on what do I want my life to look like. And so I think through this really hard period, I took a step back and realized, okay, let's look at everything. And so I think the challenge was that time, but I think the lesson learned was learning to focus on myself and what success looks like for me, and then only creating goals and pushing myself in areas that would actually, get me to that version of success, or actually, would make me feel that version of success in the process. And so that was a huge lesson learned, and something I really want everyone else to think about too, is don't just try to meet these arbitrary goals that other artists are setting or that other artists have achieved, thinking it will make you meet that version of success, be successful, and then be happy. I'm reading The Happiness Advantage right now, and one of the biggest takeaways I've had in that book is to enjoy the process, because I think we're set up in a nation where we think, well, I'll be happy when I reach the mountaintop, when I reach that version of success. But in reality, the people that are most likely to be successful are the people that focus on their happiness and their joy in the journey. And so that's something I'm definitely taking into 2025, as well as just focusing on kind of gratitude along the way. So, what I'm most grateful is those around me. I think I've built a really strong community, both, personally, professionally, through getting married, through meeting people like Meg, who I've been doing founders with, meeting people through the club that to see how incredible these artists are, and people that were strangers just a few months ago that now I feel like we just know each other on a deeper level. All of those things mean so much. So I'm so grateful for the relationships I've formed. I also am really grateful for what has become of my business. I think 2024 was a tough year, I think, for artists in a lot of ways. And I think, if anything, it made me really look at, what do I want to focus on? How am I going to become, laser focused on building a business that isn't built on sand, that it really can withstand, ups and downs and economic changes. And also, I think that hard, kind of difficult time also taught me how to be a better coach and how to be a better, give better advice to the artists that are also dealing with difficult times. And so I think there was a lot I learned from that challenge, but I think I'm really grateful for it. And yeah, just definitely really grateful for those around me. So those are just kind of some gratitude things. I definitely encourage you to think about your own gratitude list. I think it's going to make a really big difference. I also think it's important to close out the year with just some intentions, or kind of begin your year with intentions. So obviously start with reflection, which is kind of what we just did, but also let go of what's no longer serving you. I'm a big fan of, what do you want to start doing? What do you want to stop doing? And what do you want to continue doing in the new year? And so, for example, I really want to start developing more of a routine now that I have a new office. I feel like I had a morning routine working from home, but I kind of feel like I lost it when I moved to the office. So that's something I want to start. Something I want to stop, which kind of goes along with this idea of letting go of what no longer serves you, is I want to stop saying yes to projects that aren't aligned with my vision of success, my vision of the future, and things I want to be working towards. I think a lot of the times we think about things that feel really good in the moment, or, are paying us in the moment, or might, get us to meet someone that might lead to something. There's a lot of mights in there, but I think I've really come to a point where I have a vision, a very clear vision of what I want this to look like now, and it's going to be a little bit easier to understand what I should say no to, but I think the hard part is actually learning to say no. So definitely want to let go of some things that, weren't working for me. And then I want to continue just really focusing on community building. But for you, I want you to also think about, what do you want to start doing? What do you want to stop doing? and what do you continue doing? So just think about what didn't work for you this year. What really worked for me this year, and what do I, what do I need to release to continue to grow in 2025? What do I want to continue to do? So I definitely recommend kind of thinking about all of those things. And then let's look ahead. Really think about your vision for 2025. Personally, I think a couple of things that I'm really excited about 2025, really revolve around 2024 was a big year of refinement. So taking the things I was doing that were new and just making them better and better. I definitely want to carry this idea of refinement into 2025, but I also have some visions for growth for some of the kind of the budding, the seeds I planted, so to speak. So, the Substack's relatively new. I want to actually spend some time kind of developing it, continuing to make it better, learning more about what people want and growing that platform. I also want to continue to develop and grow the podcast. I feel like I've grown a lot in 1 year, and just the guests that we have had on have been incredible. And so I definitely want to continue to grow that. I'm, really happy with where the Scouted Studio is, but I always am trying to find new ways to better serve the artists I work with. So all of those things I think I'm really, really excited about, along with, just some secret projects we have with founders and some things I'm working on kind of personally as well. But I think the overarching vision is balance. So while trying to improve a lot of things and refine and grow, also maintaining that mindset of, to grow, you don't have to work all hours of the day. You don't have to burn the candle at both ends. That doesn't mean, neglect other parts of your day and of your life. And so it's really this idea of balance and finding the balance that aligns with what that vision of success is that I have. So it's really kind of aligning my goals with my personal values and dreams. So when it comes to goal setting, which I am doing a goal setting and kind of calendar planning live workshop, just kind of something that you can do right off the bat is think about your goals in 3 categories. So that's something that while you're thinking of your vision for 2025, you can think about those goals. So I love to set personal goals, business goals, and then creative goals. And so that's how I tend to break them up, but definitely something you can kind of start writing and thinking about as you're crafting this vision, and start to develop your action plan. And if you want, obviously if you want help with that, that is something that workshop could be beneficial for. Something else that I think is really important to think about are just staying motivated, because I think a lot of the times a lot of us don't like New Year's resolutions because we hate the idea of, I'm going to flip the switch and all of a sudden I'm going to go from this person that I'm not fully happy with to this totally different person in January. And I think that's a huge one. It can lead to a huge disappointment. It can be extremely overwhelming. It can lead to burnout, all these things we know. And so instead of thinking, come January 1st, I'm going to join the gym, exercise every day, become healthy, work on my new project, launch this business, do all these things at once, I really like to think about it as, again, think about that version of success and think about who you ultimately want to become. A year from now, what do you want to look back? How do you want to feel? What do you want to be wearing? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be around you? But also, really, you want to look back on the year and say, wow, I feel really good. And so I think that really comes down to thinking about your version of success, and then just thinking about, what are some habits that person would have? And can I start really small today and just take that first step, not feel like I have to rewrite the whole playbook on day one? Because in the book I'm reading, The Happiness Advantage, something that he's really talking about is we only have so much willpower. So decision-making fatigues us, and we're already making, as business owners, so many decisions every day. And every time you decide, not to do something or to do this habit or these things that you really don't like come New Year's, it's taking more and more of our decision-making energy, which we already using a lot of for our businesses. And when that gets depleted, that's when we, the willpower completely goes away and we just forget about all these resolutions. So instead of using up all of your willpower trying to do everything at once, I would just say start small. Start with, a little habit that you think or a little change that can then develop into a habit that you think the person you want to become would do. And so, I think that's a really great way to start climbing the staircase versus trying to do everything all at once. And then just plan check-ins and adjustments. And really, I think the biggest thing that's been helpful for me is just celebrating the small wins along the way and actually celebrating them. Because I think a lot of the times we accomplish the thing we want to accomplish or we set out to accomplish and we just keep going and then we think about the next thing. And I think especially if this comes out in January, we're like, well, now we're just going to set all new goals and like neglect everything we did in 2024. And I think that's why this review is so important, because you need to take some time to think back and think about what was everything I did. I should be really proud of those things. And now I can move forward and say, okay, look how much I accomplished and how talented I was in 2024. How do I want to move this momentum into 2025? And so really big on celebrating small wins. And I would say even plan into your calendar, every quarter I'm going to go back through and write down everything I accomplished and take myself to dinner or do something really nice to celebrate those wins. So just, some things I want you to think about, but just some final thoughts. I think being really intentional with reflecting on the year and thinking of the year ahead and really treating this as an exercise that you have to do, like mark it in your calendar, because I think the biggest thing we run into as business owners is we focus, and as people, we focus on the next task. We think about what is directly ahead of us. We don't get that bird's eye view of what do we ultimately want? What's the bigger picture? What's the full calendar look like? What's the year look like? We just think about, I got to get through today and I got to get through my to-do list. And I understand where that comes from. Believe me, I do it all the time because we have long to-do lists and things that have to get done. But I think if you can set aside a day, an hour, 15 minutes just to really think about what you want in the bigger picture, you will be so much happier and so much more successful, because all of a sudden you've just aligned yourself. If you can just align with what you want, and if you're moving in the right direction or not. So I think this is something that I really think is important. I really encourage you to take even 10 minutes to reflect on 2024 and outline your top 3 intentions for 2025. And I promise it will be worth your time. So I'm very excited for what is coming out. If, we have great Substacks coming out. We have wonderful content for this next year. The club is open, as I mentioned. I have some really exciting stuff going on in there, as well as you get access to the live goal setting and calendar planning workshop. If you are a club member, that will be free. But if you're not, it is for sale, and paid Substack subscribers get half off. So lots of fun stuff going on. January is a big month over here, but I'm really excited for all of 2025. Lots of exciting content coming your way. So just circling back to this idea of gratitude, thank you for being a part of my journey, for tuning in. I don't know if you listen every week, if this is the first time you're listening, but just thank you for being here. And I just want to wish you a really successful and, more importantly, joyful new year. So I will be back on Tuesday, so you don't even have to wait that long, with a new episode, and I will talk to you then.